Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down.
Welcome back to another episode of Orange Peel. Today, I had the opportunity to talk to my dad, my co-creator, Dejuan Collins, about those 6 games that led to the Lakers winning their 17th franchise title and the future of the Heat, which is hopefully brighter than my forehead right now. And I also had the opportunity to talk to Mickell Gladness, a former NBA player who played with the Heat back in 2011 and later with Golden State, and just get his thoughts on the point center position and if it is the future of the NBA. So just jumping right into it, here is my interview with my dad. So today I am back again with the man, the myth, the legend, the creator, Dejuan Collins. Hold for applause.
Whoa, what's happening?
So just jumping right into it before we waste any time, what were your thoughts just on the finals in general, both teams, and just how far they've came? What were your thoughts overall?
Me, I thought it was whack. I really thought it was whack. I like that they took the right measures to go ahead and protect the players and the staff, from the COVID situation, but at the same time, like, come on, they could have allowed, like, even within the NFL, they could have allowed, a couple of thousand people in, even if it's, say, for example, like season ticket holders, you should go ahead and give them that privilege to go ahead and do it. So within that, like, I don't think it was cool. I think it kind of took away from the little home court and away situation a lot. So, more of the veteran teams like the Lakers, that's pretty much that situation was really built for a team like that and for a player like Lebron. And it seems like we only have one of those players in the bubble of such.
Yeah, and we know you definitely have your thoughts on LeBron, and this is a
Ah,
different experience. Like you said, not having fans in here, so it was a different experience for both teams. But for a team like the Heat, who really do usually get most of their motivation from their fan base, from Heat culture, just what did you think about just their run coming in as a 5 seed and then getting to the finals and then playing like they did, even battling through injury?
I've always been a fan of the Heat, with the organization and on how they go ahead and develop players. I've always felt like if you got drafted by the Heat, and no matter what round, even if it's the second, you will always have a chance to go ahead and, display your talent. So, it's kudos to the organization, and, it seemed like they have a blueprint for success that a lot of organizations can and should follow to go ahead and help and make the league a lot more competitive, because, the Heat are doing that on without a superstar. I mean, big props to Jimmy Butler, but you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, Jimmy Butler ain't no superstar. Jimmy Butler played, his best basketball, and yeah, it's got them to that level, but but at the same time, like, that level ain't high enough. And like, whether it be shape, whether it be conditioning, whether it be just mental aspect, I mean, they really didn't have a superstar, and they really played with like a lot of young guys. They maximized on the young guys. So big props to Eric Spoelstra, big props to the organization, big props to the players. But at the same time, the Heat definitely didn't have a solid player. As you've seen with Tyler Hero pretty much being maybe the most consistent player, and you're not going to go ahead and beat, what I'm saying, any team, whether at that level, if it's in the finals, whether it be the Lakers, whether it was Golden State, whether it was anybody, is just not going to go ahead and be able to beat top teams at that level at that time with the caliber of players that you have.
And like you're saying, they don't have a real superstar because Jimmy Butler did have the 40-point triple double and then back that up with the 35-point triple double. Then he came out in game 6 and it was just nothing. So what do they need? Because they were talking about acquiring someone like Giannis in the offseason if they have the cap space to get a superstar like that. what would they need? Is it Giannis that they have to look to get, or another player that's going into free agency, or is it just that maybe they need to just find some better veterans that have bounced around the league? What do they need in order to get back to this?
Basketball for me, like is like it's an ever evolving thing, and it's a situation where that's why you put the guys in the organization at the top organization, whether it be like the general manager, whether it be the the personnel player personnel, the development guys, your assistant coaches. So as far as like within that system, like I don't think that they need much. I feel like if they're able to go ahead and they're scratching on success with the minimum, you have all the right pieces, the key ingredients. I don't think it's the players, the superstar mentalities that's going to absolutely win you the championship. I think it's going to go ahead and be the hard work, the growth part, the growth part of the game, the getting acclimated, believing in the players that you have. And I think basketball going away from it, they don't necessarily need success and worry about success to get a finals next year. They have to go ahead and still figure out how they're going to go ahead and shape their roster, because they're one or two moves from really just reshaping their whole roster, and then they're just a completely different team. So they have to go ahead and be careful in that. And Pat Riley, if anybody, he's been a guy to go ahead and say, hey, listen, you as the fans, you guys have your own way to go ahead and look at this game. You as the players, you guys have no way to go ahead and tell me how to run this team. And, you guys, hey, as the coach, you have to go ahead and get the maximum out of these guys. I'll go ahead and bring the guys in. And Mickey Harrison is the guy who just tell, hey, listen, I believe in you. I believe in success. This is the system. So it starts from top to bottom. So I think within the Miami Heat, I think that's an organization we should not go ahead and worry about, because they will definitely be where they're supposed to be, whether they're overachieving or they just have the high-level players that everybody think they should have.
And then they got the most out of Jimmy Butler, because we know that Jimmy Butler had a tumultuous past 3 years with his different teams, and then switching conferences 3 years in a row. So for him, is it that he's found a home here, or what more do we need from Jimmy Butler in order for him to get back to that superstar status? And what's keeping him in Miami right now?
I think Miami is a blue collar place. Jimmy Butler is a blue collar player, and that's just that. It just fell into place for both of them. I don't think Jimmy Butler is a number one guy. I don't think Jimmy Butler has ever been a number one guy. I think it's unfair for him to have to be the number one guy. So as far as like within that, like Jimmy Butler is a solid in-the-end player. He plays solid on the offensive end, and he plays deep. He's really interchangeable defensively, but at the same time, Jimmy Butler is still overachieving. I don't think Jimmy Butler is an all-star, like a superstar. He should be considered a superstar, but I think he should be respected and looked at, as somebody who is overachieved and got the maximum out of their potential.
And then speaking of guys, of number one guys, we have Anthony Davis and LeBron, who you could argue are either one of those guys are the number one guys for the Lakers. But LeBron ultimately wins Finals MVP. Is this a pity party award because he didn't win a regular season, or is this an attribute to LeBron's greatness?
I'm really not a fan of LeBron. That's a whole different conversation right
Don't get
there.
it started.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's next episode.
I don't want to seem like a hater, but at the same time, LeBron is LeBron. I feel like LeBron has been a spoiled athlete. He's one of the most entitled athletes of all time. to be able to always, with the exception a couple of years, yes, he did work hard, but with the exception a couple of years, he's always been able to go ahead and get pieces in, beg for pieces, can we say? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or the NBA, they've been able to go ahead and help him get pieces in there to help him win and stay relevant. But I mean, I just don't, I still don't solidify LeBron as a Laker, for so many reasons. He's in Ohio, and I almost don't want to consider him an Ohioan anymore. You know
Oh.
what I'm saying? But at the same time, like he big props to him. He doing his thing, and I catch a lot of flack from it because I do go ahead and I'm really critical of him. But at the same time, you can't go ahead and take away from his accomplishments. Does it solidify his legacy? I mean, his legacy has been solidified since he's come into the league. Whether we like it or not. But as far as like this championship with the Lakers, for me, it comes with an asterisk. Because I mean, we still haven't seen guys like teams like Golden State healthy. We haven't seen. We already know how tough it is to play in away arenas, and then you have to go ahead and factor in as far as like the Lakers and with the struggles that Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma had, their bench had. They were really struggling with shooting. So I think it could have been that would have affected the outcome a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Had we been in a regular environment, it's the same way like the Spurs got their championships with the Knicks. After the lockout season, it come with an asterisk. It wasn't a full season. But it was well deserved. The guys came together at the right time. They did go ahead and accomplish it. But at the same time, as far as like within that for LeBron, I mean, that don't do nothing for you, man. Like you got to go ahead and hold that next year. And me, I don't think they will.
Yeah, and I don't really think it's LeBron that's really pushing the narrative that he's the best player, even though I think he entertains it heavily. But just the LeBron bias fans and LeBron sexuals, as some people like to call them. But um, do you think that it's just people kind of projecting onto the game? Because right now, like we're saying, the league is so young and that the future of the league is pretty much uncertain. We don't really know, different players are playing differently. Jimmy Butler at one time was one of the best guards, and now you can see he's struggling. Anthony Davis has shown that centers can do it all. So do you think people are projecting onto LeBron because he is a vet still playing and he kind of gives us hope for what the NBA should look like?
I think people been coattailing with LeBron for his whole career. I mean, like let's just call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? Like it's been guys. Yeah, you have your guys that you like and you build a bond with as far as like within personal relationships within teams. But at the same time, like it's just been ridiculous with guys like such as Danny Green, where you win a championship as an underdog, whether it be with the Spurs or definitely within Toronto, and then you go ahead and jump ship. You building your legacy, and then you jump ship and join an organization where it's easy. So I'm not a big fan of like guys who just taking the easy route just to go ahead and get success. I mean, at the end of the day, the name of the game is to go ahead and just put your name in the Raptors. And, if they're not going up, whether it be with championships or without championships, that really don't matter. It's just to go ahead and go out there and show your art. So within the bandwagon of these guys jumping ship and doing all of this, hey, listen, man, be thankful for the organization that drafted you, that took a chance on you, that's paying you a good, healthy lifestyle, that's helping you possibly within the next year groom you as a man. I mean, I feel like a lot of these guys owe a little bit more loyalty to them. And I'm not saying it from a business standpoint. I'm just saying from a humility and a thank you standpoint, and everything else to go ahead and just take care of itself. But it seems like, possibly the business is first and then loyalty is second.
Definitely. And then, Anthony Davis is constantly talking about building that legacy. And of course, he wants his name in the rafters, and he wants to be a Hall of Famer. But right now, of course, he has a he's going into free agency. Does he build that legacy under LeBron? Can you do that being the Robin to someone's Batman? Or do you have to go out and do it on your own and build your own legacy with a different team?
I mean, if I'm AD, like that's just me. If I'm AD, like AD is he been a chill dude. He has a good personality, and he's always been a winner. And it's just as much as comparable to LeBron. It's just he doesn't have that boisterous personality off the court. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and make them all just as equal. But I mean, with AD legacy was always solidified. This has been the most underrated, talented player since probably like within the likes of somebody like Kevin Garnett. You know what I'm saying? Because he's more versatile. He's more athletic. He's more methodic. He's just a lot smoother. He's a lot more polished. Whether it's on the defensive end, whether it be athletically, whether it be just shooting the jump shot, whether it be just being interchangeably just guarding other players. So AD within itself, he's always been like something special within it. It's just his personality, which is so cool about him, that it doesn't overshadow, you know what I'm saying, how he go about his business. So, I mean, I would personally like AD to leave LA. I don't see him out there as that LA type persona where you get wrapped up into that. I see him more as a laid back dude who don't need that spotlight to go ahead and do what he do. So, I mean, I think wherever AD go, I think they're going to go ahead and have a chance to win a championship. For me, if he stay in LA, I hope everybody go ahead and guard him hard. But I don't like it that it's been LA. I would go ahead and bounce him the same way LeBron bounced.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that everyone was talking about with him leaving is, does he have a shot at a championship? Because you saw Kyrie left LeBron, looking to build on regain his legacy, I should say. But how much of championships really play into a player's greatness? Because everyone was trying to compare LeBron's 4 to MJ's 6, which to me is a line that should never be crossed. But how much do championships really play into a player's greatness, if it does at all?
None. I mean, like it's been more so for just the media, just to get them something to talk about. It's just another narrative for the media. They mean nothing. If you never win a championship, that does not make your career any better or worse than the next player. Whether he played 3 seasons due to injuries or other issues, or whether he played 20 years. The only thing that you're there to do is to go ahead and get the maximum out of your body, develop your mind, and then just go ahead and be business savvy and make your living and go from there. Outside of that, championships are okay. But I feel like at that level, if you all approach the work the same way, every organization has the same resources, has the same coaching ability, every player has the same ability. I feel like if you go ahead and just work towards that, I feel like you can go ahead and accomplish that, and you don't need a championship to validate you. So it's just something that's been new for us to go ahead and get into, but it seems like more so it's just something to almost give the next generation to chase Jordan with.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're looking at championships, if we go by that, Bill Russell is the best player ever and is untouchable because he's won 11. But there's a lot of players like even Charles Barkley that has not won any, but is still a great player. So like you're saying, championships really don't matter. But for the Lakers, who we know they're coming for a second one this upcoming season. Do you think the Lakers repeat, or looking how we saw that the West was fighting and the East looked completely different than what we thought at the beginning of the year? Do you think that the Lakers come back and they're in the finals and they win, or is this entire season just up for grabs for anybody?
First, like even to add on what we were talking about earlier, look at guys like Barry Sanders within championships. I mean, guys who just really just were so loyal and dedicated to his craft. That's never been duplicated. That we talking about retired. I think Barry Sanders retired at 31, and this is one of the most electric still today. No matter this was one of the most electric players and people that we've ever seen, and he's never won a championship. And we still go ahead and it would still go ahead and be hard for guys to win 10 championships and still amount to what Barry Sanders has meant for not just the football, for coming out of Wichita, Kansas, to going to Oklahoma State, to winning the Heisman, from coming being the baby. I think he was of 11 kids, to go ahead and plan and being one of the all-time rushers and greatest players to watch in the NFL. And a championship does not solidify that his legacy. That's in stone. So as far as do I think the Lakers have a chance to go ahead, I don't know. I mean, everything is motivated on buddy now. Like, these guys they're not. I mean, when it's different. The generation before, like within the Kobe's, like they were more, they wanted to play against the best, and they wanted to go ahead and feel like that was what a championship was about. When you look at the Detroit Pistons or Houston Rockets, like these guys were trying to go ahead and just beat the best team out there. And at times it was the Chicago Bulls. At times it was Houston Rockets, who won 2 back-to-back. At times it was Detroit. You didn't see guys go and gang up and say, great guys at that time, say, hey, look, let's just go to Detroit and make it better. For one, you wouldn't have been accepted. 2, you pretty much would have got bullied out the league because you have to hold your own. So, the game has changed right now, and I don't know where the direction is going to go as far as this off season. I really don't understand. Like, I know a lot of guys are going to go ahead and understand it's going to be a lot more business from coming off of this COVID, and a lot of things. So contracts and money situations are going to go ahead and change. So I don't know if the Lakers are going to go ahead and be able to hold up, because I think it's a lot more teams with built up chemistry than them.
Who knows? It might be the Hawks and the Suns next year in the finals. Who even knows?
Man.
You never know. But that is all we have time for today. So thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me again. It's always good to talk to you.
Appreciate it.
Great as always. So I'm here with Mickell Gladness, and you're a former NBA player and you're currently playing overseas. So just first of all, how are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, this is a weird time with COVID and stuff going on, but everything well considered everything.
Definitely a weird time to be, playing basketball. And we just saw the NBA finals just finished up and they were playing inside of the bubble. So it's a weird time for everybody right now. But just kind of starting off, just so I can know a little bit about you and everybody can learn a little bit about you. What was it like growing up in a place like Jasper, Alabama, which is a place I haven't been to before? But just tell me about your background with Alabama.
Well, we moved around a lot because my dad worked for the power company. So they constantly repositioned us, and we moved from Jasper when I was first born until about like elementary school age, and then to Birmingham, like Roebuck area, and then I moved to Chicago, where I finished up like high school and stuff like that. I would say, I can't say, I hate when people say it's like a normal childhood, but I mean, I think I've pretty much experienced a lot of things. Country, from a lot of space to playing football and just in the yard, to riding around bikes and just playing in the backyard or playing on the hoop outside. with my friends. But I think it gave me moving around a lot, kind of helped me to prepare for what I do now, and that's adapting to many different situations pretty quickly. My
That's
dad always said that the quicker that you can adapt, then the better off you are, and that's proven well for my whole life right now.
And it's a small town. I was looking up things to do there, and it's pretty much just lakes and not really much to do there. So growing up, did you feel like basketball was kind of your connection to, just experiencing bigger places and just kind of being an outlet to different things?
I don't think I actually tied to that at a young age. It was more so in connection to me and my father. We didn't have the best as far as like communication, as far as talking to each other about things. But basketball was always the thing that we could talk about for hours. Even now, we're still working on our relationship, and I'm not saying like he's a estranged father or anything. I grew up in a 2-parent home, and we had a pretty good upbringing. It's just that was our common ground. Now we find other things to kind of help strengthen our relationship, but that was our connection, and it helped that he played until college, so he was able to give me knowledge and stuff that he had up until that point, and of course where I passed him and surpassed him when I got to a certain level, but that's still something that connects us a lot. So I think that's what basketball did for me, as opposed to me thinking about it on a wider scale of traveling the world and getting to different places. I didn't think about it that much. It was just play basketball, have fun, share with my dad, like that kind of stuff.
Yes, my dad actually played overseas as well, so I can definitely see where you could have that connection. And then talking about just moving into college, you played eventually with Alabama A&M. My dad played at Tuskegee, so he was telling me about playing there, playing against you guys. But just kind of run me through that senior season that you have. You had the 10-point average then, and just kind of, I know you played power forward, so when did you kind of see yourself, perhaps going into the league, or what was that senior season like for you?
After my junior season and leading the nation in blocks again, um, it was, leading the nation in blocks and having setting that record and stuff. I was thinking about it then, but my coach kind of discouraged me against it. Which I'm still kind of iffy on if it was, because university have their own agenda. You want to keep your star players there, especially at a small school like that, in order to keep the crowd there, keep the students engaged, keep your booster base kind of strong. So I always thought, man, like I thought about coming on my junior year, just because my name was on all, like pretty much all the boards. Like I said, I had a game where I set the record for Division One for blocks in the game. Um, I led the nation in blocks that year. So my name is like fresh in people's head, and they're like, okay, who is this guy? And as soon as you look, I'm on top of the leaderboard. So it's like I thought about coming out that year, but it didn't happen. But that senior year, it was more so, all right, you led the season the nation in blocks the year before that. Try to do it again. And my coach was also telling me what scouts were saying as far as I need to score more. I need to at least average double digits in rebounds, in points, just to kind of prove or kind of show more facets of my game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a challenge because I was playing with guards that wanted to dribble. Like one guy, I feel like they thought he was like the savior of the team. And no matter wherever you go to, people that score, they most of the time have that spotlight no matter what else they do. So I feel like I had to prove that I could also score. So it was something different with it than what I'm used to doing. Because me, like if I focus, I think this is my whole life. If I can focus on one thing or one or two things and do that really, really well, then it helps me, and I can like zero in on it. I'm that kind of person. Like I do that thing well, move on to the next, and kind of do that thing well. And I wouldn't say I'm one faceted, but it helps to me focus on one thing, kind of move on to the next, instead of trying to space myself out to more than one thing and then do okay in that thing. I'd rather do this one thing great, and then the rest of it will take care of itself.
Yeah. And then a lot of people might not know this about you, but you sit at about 6'11", so you're a pretty tall guy. So just kind of going back to that junior and senior season, what did it take developing that offense? Because, someone that's 6'11", people automatically associate with you being a center, but you're playing at like power forward. So what went into developing that offense, transitioning to that senior season, and what do you think was the biggest strength in that offense?
That summer from my junior year to my senior year, there were thousands and thousands upon thousands of jump hooks and all kinds of stuff like that, and really improved my free throw shot because a lot of people were going to foul me because I'm a little more athletic than most bigs, especially in the swag. So it just came to repetition. I really had to learn how to use my quickness because I'm not a big guy. So that never would be a thing that I would never be a tool that I had to use. So using my quickness was very important around that time because I was just coming into my body and kind of learning how to use it, and not because you see all these other guys that can back down, and they can do stuff like that. But it was me like taking that kind of thing and like, okay, I can't do that. So now I have to figure out what I can use and how I can use it differently than other guys. So it was more of a strategic thing of learning and actually watching other players that were my frame size and played my position. And I think actually becoming a student of the game at that time, a little more than I had been.
And then after that season, you ended up going undrafted and then going to the Netherlands. So what was the competition level like, just switching from, of course, playing in college and then just going completely overseas? What did that competition level look like as it changed?
I want to say at first I thought, okay, I didn't go to the NBA, but I was picked to go second round. So I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm going overseas. It'll be easy. I'm an NBA player. I'm supposed to go to the NBA. It'll be simple. But that transition from college to the Netherlands was a big one. Like the speed of the game, the physicality of the game, like it was totally different because you have grown men over there playing basketball as opposed to college students that are my same age. Like you have guys that I think one of my teammates was I want to say late 30s, and he was still playing. So he couldn't move as fast as I could, but he bumped me every move I made. So I had to get used to that physicality of the game. It was tough at first. I actually almost got cut that year. So that was my first taste of the business of basketball. And it's important that you play well. And if you don't, they can get somebody else as soon as they got you, as quick as they got you. So that it was both sides, the business of it and dealing with the physical part of it. So it was mental and physical that year.
Definitely. And physicality is like the main thing. Anyone will tell you, especially playing in Europe, that just to defend players, no matter what size, is completely different than it is in the NBA. But now we see within the NBA, foul calls is one of the biggest things that defines every single game. It kind of stops the flow of the game in a way. So do you think that with just seeing how they play overseas and then bringing it back to the US and the NBA, is it that we're not as physical in the NBA, or maybe that we're just being a little bit too soft with the foul calls, especially, like I said, playing overseas?
I look at, like now since I play so in so many different places, I look at the game differently, and you see I see the reason why they call the games that way in the NBA, and even the rules are set up differently in the NBA, and it's because like it's entertainment. Like you want to see that athleticism being used. You want to see those shots and that type of play in the NBA. So I think that's why they call it that way. I mean, you have the 3 seconds where defensive 3 seconds where you can't be in the lane that long. So you see a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of space. It's hard to get over that. I mean, if you're not used to it at first, it's hard to get over, guard your man and get over to block a shot or get over to make a great defensive play if you're not used to it, like I said. It takes the elite athlete to be able to cover that amount of space. So that's what it's set up for. In overseas, you have that 3 seconds, you have the bigger guys and stuff. Overseas is more half-court basketball. I mean, it's more team-oriented basketball. So, I mean, that's why the rules are set up the way they are.
For sure. And then 2011 was when you actually made your official debut with the Heat. And then, of course, we saw that this year the Heat just had a really, really good finals run, coming in as the 5 seed and making all the way to the NBA Finals, and, of course, being the Eastern Conference champions. But just bring it back to when you were with the Heat. what can you say about the Heat culture and what you learned, especially being coached under Eric Spoelstra and then playing with people like Chris Bosh, LeBron James, and people like that? So what can you tell me about Heat culture back then and how it relates to now?
I'd say one person, Udonis Haslem. Look at him. Look how he's played over his whole career. He is the identity of the Heat. Like everyone that they have that comes in and they put on that roster, they have that type of grit. They have that type of fight. Look at Jimmy Butler. Look at Bam Adebayo. Like they all have those some of those aspects. It's defense. It's always been defense. It's changed a little bit since I've been there. I mean, since I was there, because I look at when Hassan Whiteside was there, and he kind of played back a little bit on the screens. When I was there, we played up on the screens. We showed on the screens, but it's still that same identity of playing hard-nosed defense. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep fighting. And that's what got them to that point. They have talent, of course. They have Hero. They have Jimmy Butler. They have Bam. They have Duncan Robinson. But those guys, either you have it, which most of those guys do, because like see Duncan Robinson has come from Division III and worked his way all the way up there. See those guys with fight. You see those guys with a chip on their shoulder. They tend to find those guys and develop those guys and give them confidence, and that's what the Heat culture is about. So you see it no matter who's on the team. And I think since it seems like everybody has kind of been developed, because even Eric Spoelstra started in the film room, and he's been developed to be that coach and have that same culture. It won't go anywhere. They'll still have it no matter who comes in, because they're not gonna get somebody just a fresh face. I feel like they'll keep working, and that's mostly because of Pat Riley and how he coaches and how he runs the team.
Definitely. And then just seeing just how consistent they are, because having Pat Riley, who used to coach there, and then having Eric Spoelstra come in and replace him, it just shows you that this is a very consistent team. So were you surprised watching, like I said, coming in at the 5 and then them making their run, being in that culture? Were you surprised that they made it as far as they did and played as well as they did against a team like the Lakers?
I wasn't, like I said, because I see them as I see that culture that they're never going to give up, no matter who they're playing against. And they don't look at the Lakers like we look at the Lakers, or like other people look at the Lakers on the outside. Especially you playing them, I can't look at them like, oh, it's the Lakers. Mm-hmm. We look at them like, I don't care who's standing in front of me. They're standing in front of me and the championship, Larry O'Brien trophy. So I'm going to go as hard at them as I will anybody else. I'm not going to take any days off. And so, no, I'm not surprised how far they got. I'm surprised. The talent actually surprised me. The identity and how they accomplished it did not.
The biggest thing that I was noticing while watching the finals, it's just the development of the point center, as they're calling it right now. Because like I said, for you being 6'11", somebody would automatically associate he's a center. The small forward position, of course, with Chris Bosh, and then KD now is changed, but it's kind of feels like that's kind of a rare talent to find somebody 6'11" that can handle the ball and shoot. But now we're seeing Anthony Davis, who's sitting at 6'10", and of course Bam sitting at 6'9", that they're handling the ball, they're shooting the ball from all sides of the court. Just what have you seen coming back from 2010, 2011, and then now it's 2020? How has that point center developed, and is it more of a rare talent, or is this something that the league can see in the future?
I think it'll be more the norm, because as you see over the years, it's slowly the true center, or the big man has kind of phased out to more of a run the floor, block shots, or pick and roll type of player. And even now, like you see, it's slowly evolving to. I mean, we've had those guys before, but they were always rare. But now I think it'll be the norm. I think they kind of stem from back when I first started. It was more like you're this height, you go down, you back him down. If somebody's behind you, like as far as a small guy, you put him in the basket. Now it's a lot different. Like it's the skill. Like we can have skill too. We can shoot just like the rest of those guys, even though regardless of who's tall or not. It makes no difference. That just gives you an edge, an advantage on the rest. So I think we'll see more of that with that, and I like seeing more of that. I'm glad that that's kind of coming into the forefront, as opposed to guys who kind of secretly working on it in their off season, in the off time, and then kind of being afraid to show it on the court. or being more hesitant to show it on the court because they were put into this box, into this mold.
Definitely. And then, like you were saying, it's just good to see, but how much more does this push the offense of the NBA? Because if you can have guys that are 6'10", setting high screen rolls and pulling out to the three to shoot, that makes them a different threat. So does it change the flow of the game because it makes you able to run a faster offense? Or is this something that we could just see teams just kind of, adjusting to as time goes on?
I think it changes the whole flow of the game because now it's true positionless basketball. And you don't have to worry about somebody else bringing the ball down. So it doesn't make you where you have to pass the ball to the point guard. Traditional offense, it just whoever gets the ball, you just go with it. And so that makes it a lot easier and flow a lot smoother than some waiting for your center to go down and get position. No, position is wherever you start the offense, you just kind of roll from there.
And then you playing overseas still, and then of course, like you said, it's a weird time right now, but how have you seen that point center transition to overseas? And is that something that they're developing over there as well, or is it still classic big man over there?
You have more pick and pop five centers. You have a little more of that, but it's still more pick and roll game there. You have guys that can run the floor, but I think most of the guys that can like handle the ball that well at the center and power forward position, or in the either top leagues like Spain, or Spain and Russia and stuff like that, or that NBA. Like it's not a lot of those guys that haven't been snatched up by the NBA or anywhere affiliated with the NBA as far as G League as well.
Definitely. I mean, we saw Nikola Jokic coming from Serbia and just seeing what he's doing. So we do see that, like you said, a lot of people are being snatched from your league and come over to the NBA to develop that talent. So hopefully it's something that we see eventually. But going forward, just what more can we see from you and your career, whether it's on the court or off the court? What can we expect to see from you?
I see the game totally different now. So I still have the athleticism that I normally would, and I've also developed certain parts of my game that I wouldn't have tried in earlier years. My jump shot is a lot better. The way I see the game, the way I see defenders playing me, it's a lot better. So I can adapt and make those decisions a lot quicker than I used to. I've seen things over and over and over again, so it's not even a second thought. It's just like boom, it's natural for me right now. I'm also looking into actually being an agent. So when my career is over, I don't know when that'll be, but when my career is over, I'm going into helping other young athletes, young basketball players that maybe don't have the big opportunities. Maybe guys that came from smaller schools, but I might see some potential in them, like somebody saw in me. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge from years of playing basketball and going through different situations that I can share with someone. And I feel like this is the direct line from me to a player, the best way for me to get my knowledge out. Of course, it could lead to something else, and I could end up doing something else eventually. But right now, the COVID has given me a lot of time to think about what I want to do next. So I think that's where I'm headed.
And that sounds like a really good plan. Best of luck to you in that. And just thank you so much for sitting down. Take the time out your day just to talk with me.